Hello, MBD here from FTW Broadcasting, and I'm bringing you League of Legends for the win. Today I've got the patch notes discussion for patch 1.0.0.122. So there's a decent amount to go over. Let's get right into it. Going on down here, we have Annie. Looks like she got hit with the nerf bat all around. Disintegrate and Incinerate, the base lowered on both abilities and the ability power lowered. Just a slight tap with that nerf bat. I think that's okay. Annie was debatably a little powerful. Well, maybe not debatably. She was pretty powerful, and she needed to just get toned down just a bit. I think she's in a good spot right now, though. We'll see if maybe she needs even a little more. Cassiopeia. Miasma now gives persistent vision in the area where it's cast. This is a very nice QOL, it's quality of life change for the Snake Lady. Basically, she can use Miasma to check bushes now, much the way Corki can do with his Phosphorus Bomb, which will be nice. No more face checking for her, hopefully. And speaking of Corki, Phosphorus Bomb no longer blinds, and the damage is reduced. We have the Gatling Gun ratio reduced. We have Missile Barrage's damage bonus has been reduced as well. So a nerf all around. And Corki, surprisingly, Corki's one of the least played champions according to some Reds, but he's still very powerful and considered borderline OP as far as the carry is concerned. Basically, if you don't want the utility, you go with Corki. If you want the utility, you go with Ashe. So they're trying to bring him down just a little bit, and I think he's going to be just fine. The only thing that does worry me is the no longer blinds. That is a big change, and it's going to force Corki to kind of really use his mobility a little more, or because he won't be able to sit there 1v1 and enjoy that blind. I heard that there's possibility he'll get his can see invisible back, not wards, but he'll be able to see invisible back from that. We'll see what happens. Moving on, Ezreal fixed a bug where Mystic Shot did not interact with spell shields. Alright, good deal. Bug fixes. Moving on. Galio increased his health, lowered his base armor, increased his armor per level. Oh, buff on Resolute Smite except for the ability power ratio. Bulwark is a buff all around, increased duration, increased the heal. He'll end his ultimate. Biggest change here, I think, most important change, increased the damage reduction from 50% to 50% from 30%. Now, a lot of people in the forums are saying that this is not enough of a buff for Galio. He's still not that useful. He's still only useful with a, a Nunu or a big AoE team, and that may be true. But I think we're gonna start seeing Galio make a sort of a comeback per se. Yeah, I think these are really good changes for him. It might put him in this spot where maybe we can be like, hey, pick him up instead of a Mumu. Because I understand Mumu's having a hard time in the jungle right now, getting counter-jungled really hard, so it's nice to maybe pick another sort of tank. Let's change up the meta, guys. There are other things you can do, so keep that in mind. Gangplank. Parlay gold bonus reduced, and his steroid also reduced. Raise morale, attack bonus reduced, movement speed bonus reduced. Good, just good all around. Raise morale was extremely strong. It's still really strong with that attack damage bonus and the movement speed bonus. Even nerfed, I think it's still really strong. Parlay gold bonus must do. I mean, he just farmed too much. Now, the thing about Gangplank is I always thought that he was really good to begin with. The only issue he had was he didn't have any CC, and when they added the CC, they also buffed everything else, and I don't think they needed to buff everything else, and that's what made him really powerful. So, nerf him down a little bit, put him more in line. Should be in a good place. On a side note about the gold bonus, I've heard rumors that they are going to be getting rid of any sort of ability that gives extra gold like this. So I don't know what they'll do to him to compensate that, but I wouldn't be surprised to see that gold bonus go down and down and down until there's nothing. We'll see. You heard it here, probably not first, but you heard it here. Moving on, Jaina or Jana. New models and textures. If you saw my previous video, and you can pop up a little annotation for it right now, you can check out those new models and animations because they look really nice. Jax, Leap Strike. They changed the damage ratio. The attack damage ratio is now back up to 1, and they lowered the base damage. So they're bouncing around with Jax. They want to make him viable, but they want to really curb that initial level 2, oh my god, there goes all my health. So he's kind of a weird one to balance. His passive makes it hard. It makes it, hard to balance and keep him good early while not being absurd late. So hopefully he's in line for rework, I think, much like Kale. And speaking of which, Kale is also right next. Huge changes here. Huge changes. I'm not going to read them all, but you got new model and animation. Of course, you can see that. You can see the new model in my previous video. Basically, bunch of changes to her abilities. I'll let you sit there and scroll through them. The biggest issue, or the biggest change, is the change in the passive. It now shreds armor and magic resist 2% for 5 seconds, stacking up to 5 times. Currently, this is bugged, I believe. I heard that it is bugged and it is only shredding the base armor and magic resist rather than the total armor and magic resist, which is painful for her. And people are complaining that she's very underpowered still. This was a huge nerf to her. And I'm not entirely sure. I think if they fix this bug with the armor and magic resist shredding, we'll see her start to shine again. She's probably going to need a few little tweaks here and there. We'll see exactly how it all pans out. You gotta wait a couple of even a week after the patch before you can really see what's going on. I will say that I did lane with a Kale the other day, and we were very effective. I was playing Cassidy and my friend was playing Kale, and we were very effective at zoning and causing a lot of damage and not being. I didn't feel that Kale was useless at all. Forums disagree. They always disagree though, so we will see exactly what happens with Kale in the near future. Scrolling on down, Mayoke. Sap magic can now be cast while silenced. Or can now be cast while silenced. Ugh, can't speak today. Mayoke, I think this is weirdly worded because Sap magic is his passive, and what that means is whenever a spell is cast around him, he gets a charge, and at 5 charges, his next melee attack will heal him. So by now, cast is not exactly something you can cast. I assume when he was silenced before, it wouldn't go off, and maybe it was even kind of screwy where it would go off without healing him, and he'd lose his stacks, which I'm not sure if that's true or not, but that would really suck. So a little quality of life for him. I can't see any reason that it would be too OP for him. It was just a nice little thing. His passive should work while silenced. Orianna, Command Dissonance. This is her little AoE damage and slow. They lowered the slow. They lowered they lowered the ability power ratio. Good. Orianna is annoying, super annoying. I love robots, but I kind of hate her. So give her a little tap with that Nerf bat and get her out of my face, will you? Pantheon. Grand Skyfall now has a range of 5,500. Okay, this is the big change of the patch. They got the teleport tech in for global teleports, and what that means is Pantheon and Twisted Fate do no longer have global ultimates. They now have a range much like Nocturne's ultimate. I think this is a good change. People in the forums are complaining that Pantheon is now in a really bad spot, and I believe it. He really needed his ultimate. But now that they've got this corrected and working, it's then time to reevaluate him. Get that working, because he was way, you get him in a good spot and he's way out of line with the global ultimate. Same thing with Twisted Fate. So, good change. Pantheon might be in a bad spot now. We'll see in 2 weeks in the next patch, because I think they'll have some changes for him that'll really be nice. Speaking of changes that'll really be nice once they've settled in, Swain, Ravenous Flock now prioritizes champions. This is a good change for Swain. He's still in a probably a bad spot based on the last couple of nerfs for him, but this is a good change. We'll see how his lifesteal and spell vamp starts to work now that it's prioritizing champions, and then from there they can buff his other abilities if necessary. You don't want to buff them and change its ability, because you can really risk making something OP and just not even knowing what fixed his issue. You don't know what fixed his issue when you change multiple things at once. Moving on, Teemo. Fixed a bug, remove quick to not proc on spell effects such as Sheen. Simple bug fix, nice change. Moving on to Tryndamere. Now, Tryndamere is a big point of contention right now. There are several threads talking about how this change is just terrible, and I'll talk a little bit about the change. He used to use life for his abilities. He now uses the Fury system like Renekton, but not like Renekton. They just both have that same Fury bar. His passive has been changed. It grants critical chance based on fury instead of based on how low his health is. And they changed bloodlust a little bit, adds attack damage depending on how wounded he is, and heals him. Doesn't cost anything to heal. It's just got adjusted the cooldown a little bit. Mocking Shout is now free. Like, all these abilities are now free, and his damage is based on the fury he has. Things like that, and fury decays. All in the goal of evening him out. Because Tryndamere had a really big issue where he was great if you got him low and he popped his ultimate and then crit, 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 crit. But that wasn't very even. And this way he can be in doing a decent amount of damage without being in a almost dead situation. Is he perfect right now? Is he in a good spot? I don't know. I'm not a Tryndamere player. I've never actually played Tryndamere ever. All I can say is what I've read, and people on the forums are raging. There are some very high ELO players who are saying this was a huge nerf to him. Some of the riders are saying no, he's better early but weaker later. This is important because he was like 50-minute time bomb. So I don't know. We will see exactly what happens. Riot is insistent that he's in a really good spot and that the community is overreacting. It's probably somewhere in the middle. They're probably going to need to do a couple tiny little tweaks to him and he'll be in good shape, like with all the other reworks. Twisted Fate, Gate now has a range of 5,500. Same thing with Pantheon. What I said with Pantheon, I'll say it again. He needed this nerf, they need to get rid of the globals, and they will tweak him appropriately after that is done. Udyr, Tiger Stance attack damage ratio reduced, and fixed a bug where Turtle Stance with healing off damage dealt by Madrid's Razors. Okay. Udyr is widely considered to be very, very OP. He is kind of ridiculous, and they needed to tone him down. He just kind of was always a sleeper, and they buffed him a little bit, and no one played him, and they buffed him a little bit, and no one played him, and then, oh wait, they buffed him so many times, but no one played him, and he's actually really, really good. Happens a lot. A hero gets a kind of a stigma, and no one wants to play him, and then they buff him, and then they buff him a little much. Now, they didn't really nerf him very hard, and I think that's good, because there was this bug where Turtle Stance healing was getting... He was getting the healing based on Madrid's Razors or Wriggle's Lantern, and there was just a huge healing boost, and it's just a bug, and it should not have been happening that way. And once they fix the bug, then they can really truly evaluate where Udyr is on a power scheme. Like I was talking about earlier, you can't change multiple things and then expect to know what fixed Udyr. Like, it's possible that they fix this one bug and then he's perfectly fine. He's perfectly in balance. I don't think that's going to be quite the case, but I think they're doing a good job by taking it slow and seeing what happens. Vayne fixed a bug where Silver Bolts goes through blind effects. Okay, bug fixes, gotta love them. Yorick, Armor of Ghouls reduced, damage percentage of Omen of Death reduced, Omen of Pestilence now scales off ability power instead of attack damage, Omen of Famine heals for 40% down from 50, so they nerfed Yorick. Yorick, they overbuffed him because he was considered widely underpowered, and they overbuffed him. Happens a fair amount. Hopefully they can start working on that. But in addition to the nerfs, they changed Omen of Pestilence to scale off ability power, and a lot of people are thinking this is probably a good thing, because he didn't seem to synergize really well. He's kind of a hero, you want him to have mana and you want him to have cooldowns and AP, and he didn't have any AP ratios, so the AP you would get for the items that would synergize with him didn't really make sense. So now that he actually has an AP ratio, maybe it makes a little more sense, maybe kind of streamline the builds a little bit. Again, I still don't see him a lot. Apparently he was considered very, very powerful at high elo though, and I didn't filter down to low elo yet, so we'll see exactly where he is after this. Probably in a good spot. Global Teleport fixes in. That I think is fabulous. I'm glad that went in finally. They've been talking about it for so long. Thank you. And let's get those heroes in line. Let's work on that. And I'm excited about there's apparently they're going to be fixing healing, doing some new cool stuff with healing. Shirelli's been talking about it. Little things to make healing more clutch and less sustained, which I think is great. Action-packed stuff. I'm looking forward to that in the future, and you know I will keep you informed on it. So I hope you enjoyed this, and you can click in the center of the screen to subscribe. In the bottom left is the League of Legends playlist, as well as the link to our channel. In the top left is the previous League of Legends for the Win video. In the top right is the next League of Legends for the Win video. And that's all I got, so I'll see you next time.